Welcome to day 1 of 15 days of Nazi crime series. Today we will talk about Auschwitz. The name alone evokes images of unimaginable horror and suffering. Located in the small town of Auschwitz, Poland, this camp complex became the most infamous symbol of the Holocaust. Established by the Nazis in 1940, Auschwitz was initially designed as a concentration camp for Polish political prisoners. However, it rapidly transformed into the epicenter of the Nazis' final solution, the systematic extermination of Jews and other groups deemed undesirable by the Third Reich. Over the course of its operation, more than 1.3 million people were deported to Auschwitz, and approximately 1.1 million of them were murdered. Auschwitz stands as a testament to the depths of human cruelty and the capacity for evil when ideology overrides humanity. Auschwitz was not a single camp, but a vast complex of over 40 satellite camps spread across several miles. The three main camps were Auschwitz I, Auschwitz II-Birkenau, and Auschwitz III-Monowitz. Auschwitz I, the original camp, served as the administrative center and was initially intended for Polish political prisoners. It was here that the infamous Arbeit macht frei sign, meaning "work sets you free," greeted new arrivals, a cruel irony given the fate that awaited most of them. Auschwitz II-Birkenau, constructed in 1941, was the largest and most lethal of the camps, designed specifically for the mass extermination of Jews. It was here that the majority of the murders took place, and the camp became the very symbol of the Holocaust. Auschwitz III-Monowitz, also known as Buna, was a labor camp where prisoners were forced to work in the nearby IG Farben chemical plant under grueling conditions. The Nazis chose Auschwitz for its strategic location. Situated at the crossroads of multiple railways, it was easily accessible from all parts of occupied Europe, making it an ideal site for the transportation and extermination of large numbers of people. Its isolated location also meant that the atrocities committed within its walls could be hidden from public view, allowing the Nazis to carry out their genocidal plans with impunity. For those deported to Auschwitz, the journey itself was a harrowing experience. Packed into overcrowded cattle cars, often without food, water, or sanitation, prisoners endured days of travel in inhumane conditions. Many did not survive the journey, succumbing to starvation, dehydration, or disease before even reaching the camp. Upon arrival at Auschwitz, prisoners were met with a scene of utter chaos and terror. SS officers, accompanied by barking dogs, shouted orders as prisoners were forced off the trains. The selection process began immediately. SS doctors, often with a simple gesture, determined the fate of each individual. Those deemed unfit for labor, including the elderly, the sick, pregnant women, and children, were separated from those who appeared capable of work. The former group, often making up the majority of each transport, was sent directly to the gas chambers. Families were torn apart in an instant, with loved ones often unaware that they were saying their final goodbyes. The gas chambers at Auschwitz were the primary method of mass murder employed by the Nazis. Disguised as showers, these chambers were designed to kill large numbers of people quickly and efficiently. Prisoners were told they were going to be disinfected, but instead, they were herded into the gas chambers, sometimes as many as 2,000 at a time. Once inside, the doors were sealed, and Zyklon B, a cyanide-based pesticide, was introduced through vents in the ceiling. Death by asphyxiation occurred within minutes, as the poison gas filled the chamber. After the gassing, Sonderkommando units, groups of prisoners forced to work in the extermination process, removed the bodies from the gas chambers and transported them to the crematoria. The crematoria were enormous ovens designed to burn the bodies, reducing them to ashes. This process was carried out day and night, with the goal of eliminating all traces of the murdered victims. The ashes were often dumped in nearby rivers or used as fertilizer, a final act of desecration by the Nazis. The scale of the killing at Auschwitz was unprecedented. By the end of the war, for large gas chambers and crematoria at Birkenau alone had facilitated the murder of hundreds of thousands of people. The efficiency and scale of the operation made Auschwitz the deadliest of all the Nazi death camps. For those who were selected for labor, life in Auschwitz was a daily struggle for survival. The conditions in the camp were utterly inhumane. Prisoners were crammed into overcrowded barracks with little or no insulation against the harsh Polish winters. They slept on wooden bunks, often without blankets, and were given only meager rations, typically a piece of bread and a bowl of watery soup per day. Malnutrition was rampant, and many prisoners succumbed to starvation. Work in Auschwitz was grueling and often pointless. Prisoners were forced to labor for up to 12 hours a day in brutal conditions, performing tasks such as constructing new camp facilities, working in factories, or carrying out backbreaking manual labor. The Nazis' goal was to extract as much labor as possible from the prisoners before they inevitably died from exhaustion, disease, or malnutrition. Disease was another constant threat. Typhus, dysentery, and other infectious diseases spread rapidly in the unsanitary conditions of the camp. The lack of medical care meant that even minor illnesses often proved fatal. For many, death was a welcome release from the daily torment of life in Auschwitz. Despite the overwhelming odds, there were moments of resistance and solidarity among the prisoners. Secretly organized groups tried to help each other survive, sharing food, clothing, and information. Acts of defiance, though rare and often met with brutal reprisals, were not unheard of. Some prisoners risked their lives to sabotage Nazi operations or to document the atrocities for the outside world. Auschwitz was also the site of some of the most heinous medical experiments carried out by the Nazis. These experiments were conducted under the guise of scientific research, but in reality they were nothing more than acts of barbarism and cruelty. Dr. Josef Mengele, the camp's most infamous physician, became known as the Angel of Death for his role in these experiments. Mengele was particularly interested in twins, whom he subjected to gruesome experiments in an attempt to unlock the secrets of genetics. Twins were often injected with unknown substances, subjected to painful procedures without anesthesia, and killed so that their bodies could be dissected. Mengele's experiments extended beyond twins. He conducted forced sterilizations, experiments on pregnant women, and procedures aimed at testing the limits of human endurance. The suffering inflicted by Mengele and other Nazi doctors in Auschwitz was unimaginable, and many of their victims did not survive the experiments. Despite the overwhelming oppression, resistance within Auschwitz was not entirely absent. Underground resistance groups, made up of prisoners, formed within the camp and sought ways to sabotage Nazi operations. These groups smuggled information to the outside world, documenting the atrocities and providing evidence to the Allies. One of the most notable acts of resistance was the revolt of the Sonderkommando in October 1944. The Sonderkommando were prisoners forced to work in the gas chambers and crematoria, and they knew that their lives were forfeit once their usefulness had ended. In a desperate bid for survival, they planned and executed an uprising. On October 7, 1944, they attacked their SS guards, using makeshift weapons and explosives that had been smuggled into the camp. The revolt resulted in the destruction of one of the crematoria at Birkenau, but it was quickly crushed by the SS. Most of the participants were killed, but their act of defiance remains a powerful symbol of resistance against the Nazis. As the war turned against the Nazis, Auschwitz became a site of frantic destruction. The SS attempted to cover up their crimes by dismantling the gas chambers and crematoria and destroying records. In January 1945, as Soviet forces advanced, the Nazis evacuated the camp, forcing tens of thousands of prisoners on death marches to other camps. Those too weak to march were left behind to die. On January 27, 1945, Soviet troops liberated Auschwitz. What they found was a scene of devastation. Thousands of emaciated prisoners, barely clinging to life, greeted their liberators. The camp was littered with corpses, evidence of the atrocities that had taken place. The Soviet soldiers were among the first to witness the full horror of the Holocaust, and their reports shocked the world. Auschwitz has since become a symbol of the Holocaust, representing the depths of human cruelty and the dangers of unchecked hatred. The site of the camp is now a museum and memorial, visited by millions of people from around the world each year. It serves as a stark reminder of the atrocities committed by the Nazis and the importance of remembering the victims of the Holocaust. The legacy of Auschwitz is one of both horror and resilience. It stands as a testament to the capacity for evil in the human heart, but also to the strength of the human spirit. The survivors of Auschwitz, many of whom went on to bear witness to the horrors they endured, have played a crucial role in ensuring that the world never forgets what happened there. Their stories, and the evidence of the crimes committed at Auschwitz, are a powerful call to action, urging future generations to stand against hatred, bigotry, and intolerance in all its forms. In remembering Auschwitz, we honor the memory of the 1.1 million people who were murdered there, as well as the millions of others who perished in the Holocaust. We commit ourselves to the principles of human rights and dignity, and we vow to never allow such atrocities to happen again. Auschwitz is not just a place of historical significance. It is a reminder of our collective responsibility to protect and uphold the values of humanity. If you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications for the next video in series.